We're in an era where we are consistently receiving Harry Potter games again, and I couldn't be happier. Hogwarts Legacy released last year, and one of the biggest critiques from fans was the omission of Quidditch. Little did we know there was a full-fledged Quidditch game being cooked up behind the scenes. Harry Potter Quidditch Champions released last week, and I've been playing it non-stop. When Quidditch Champions was announced last year, I was cautiously optimistic, but that optimism started to fade as we got closer to the release, and it all had to do with Warner Brothers themselves. Shortly after the release of Hogwarts Legacy, Warner Brothers announced their plans to double down on the microtransactions and multiplayer games, which heavily worried me. But thankfully, those worries disappeared once the game came out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So what exactly is Quidditch Champions and how do you play it?
This is Lee Jordan, your favorite Quidditch commentator.
We're back at Ilvermorny. The players mount their brooms and prepare to face off in the ultimate test of wit and will. Quidditch!
Harry Potter Quidditch Champions is an exclusively online multiplayer game where players will adopt 4 different roles in order to play Quidditch. The first role is a chaser. They're in charge of obtaining the ball, or quaffle as it's called in this sport, and shoot it into one of 3 hoops at the end of each field. Think of it as playing soccer but in the sky. But unlike soccer, you're absolutely allowed to tackle and beat anyone that stands in your way. So if the enemy chaser has the quaffle, the best course of action is to tackle them and knock them off their broom. If you like the sound of that, then you'll love being a beater. Beaters can't score, but their job is literally to beat the living hell out of all the players on the field, including the goalie. They're equipped with a bat and bludger that they can use to attack players from a distance or up close if you're feeling particularly violent. The role that I have the least amount of time on is the keeper. They're simply the goalie, and they're in charge of blocking all of the incoming shots from the chasers. Being a keeper can be a little tricky because there's 3 goals that you need to block. It definitely requires the most amount of skill in my opinion. Last but not least, we have the seeker. This was Harry Potter's role. As everyone knows, the seeker is in charge of catching the snitch when it appears. What amazes me is that playing as a seeker is nearly identical as how it worked in the PS1 Harry Potter games. Back then, you had to fly through rings while chasing the snitch as you slowly got closer and closer until you were close enough to snatch it. Like I said, it's practically the same in Quidditch Champions. You have to fly through rings while chasing the snitch. The only difference this time is that the seekers will always have a target on their backs. You see, catching the snitch is worth 30 points, which can make all of the difference in this game. So when the snitch appears, you bet your ass that the beaters will focus all of their attention on making sure the seeker does not catch that snitch. By now, you might have noticed some familiar faces on the field. That's because Quidditch Champions is home to some very fun customization. When you first start the game, you'll be asked to make a small army of custom characters to fill in your team. You can customize your characters by giving them different accessories, emotes, victory screens, brooms, or even by equipping a costume. Costumes are how you're able to play as characters from the movies. They even use their likenesses. The way you unlock these costumes is where people seem to be getting confused. Quidditch Champions uses a menu layout similar to other live service games. This includes a shop, multiple currencies, and what appears to be a battle pass. What's important to note is that this game does not have microtransactions. Everything in this game is unlocked by simply playing the game. There is absolutely no way to buy skins or cosmetics with real money. The quote-unquote battle pass is completely free, and the only way to progress is by playing matches and leveling up. The 2 currencies, gold and win keys, can only be earned by playing matches and completing challenges. So why am I putting so much emphasis on these topics? Well, that's because this is exactly what the industry needs right now. I mean, this is a finished multiplayer game that is not riddled with pop culture or microtransactions. It has unlockables that are completely earnable for free, and it has an exciting roadmap of upcoming updates. This is exactly what people have been clamoring for, and we need to show Warner Brothers and the rest of the industry that this is what we want from our games. If any of this sounds interesting to you, then I beg you to please give the game a shot. The game is not fully priced, and if you have a PlayStation membership, then you can claim the game and start playing it right now. Not only is this game a blast to play with all the different positions and quirky customization, but the lack of microtransactions is something to be celebrated and noticed by the industry. Anyways, I'm gonna go back to playing as Hermione and beat people up with a baseball bat. Hopefully I'll see you there.